Hi, this is William from Permapastures Farm, and today is part 3 of making a knife with hand tools. Okay, so today we're going to be working on the handle scales and the sharpening of the knife. Now this knife, which is the knife you saw me make, I had already gone ahead and started, making the knife and sharpening it. I had an issue with the epoxy on both of these. Actually, this one, you can see it coming apart right here, up here in the front. I don't know what the issue is. I used that Gorilla Glue epoxy. I don't know what the issue is. And this one, it just never even stuck to the blade. It became all gummy and just kind of fell off. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to peen these handle scales on with this brass rod, and then we're going to sharpen it up and all that stuff. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to put the handle scales on this knife is we're going to measure out and mark where we want to drill the holes. Alright, so I'm going to put these in about the center. Alright, so there you might be able to see my marks. I have 1, 2, and 3. Alright, I've clamped it to the table. I'm going to line up my drill bit and just kind of go slow at first and drill a hole. And it's important to note the original holes that I had drilled out, that was for the epoxy to set in, but it didn't work. So I'll just use them as like weight reduction. Okay, so the next thing, here's my handle scales. Now I need to get this pattern onto these scales. So I've clamped all this together. I'm going to get my holes lined up now. Alright, so now that we've got the knife handles done, and on this one I just use epoxy, and let me tell you, the handles on these knives were by far the hardest part of these knives. I couldn't get anything to work right. The epoxy turned gummy for some reason. The handle scales kept splitting on me when I tried to peen them, like on this one. This one I didn't even bother doing any peening or anything like that. Just nothing worked right, and I ended up doing like 4 or 5 different ones on this one, and just none of them worked right until I finally got it to work with epoxy, these brass peens, and I ended up using plywood. This one I ended up using cedar on it, and I like this handle better. It seems to fit a little bit better than this one. This one seems to be too wide, which is something I can change in the future. I'm not going to worry about it right now. But now we're going to sharpen our knives. And to sharpen them, we're going to use these 3 different whetstones. We have a coarse, we have a medium, and we have a fine. This is the coarse. This is one we're going to start off with, just to set an edge. Right now we don't have an edge on them because they're brand new knives. We have the primary bevel, but we don't have the sharpened bevel. So we're going to start them off with this coarse, this medium, and then this fine. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is actually just wet the stone right now. Just put on plenty of water, and I wanna make sure this stays pretty wet the entire time I'm sharpening. All right, so I'm right-handed. I'm gonna hold the knife with my right hand. I'm gonna curve my finger, my middle finger around right here, hold it like this, put my thumb back on the spine of the knife, and then this index finger, I'm gonna apply pressure near the end of this knife. Middle finger, index finger, right here, thumb, back on the knife. And these two fingers I'm gonna use just to apply pressure where I'm wanting to sharp. All right, so I'm gonna use the full length of the whetstone. I'm gonna distinguish my angle. And whenever you have a belly on a knife like this, then you want to actually curve instead of just focusing on one single side. All right, so now I'm going to switch over to my next stone. I'm just going to give this a wipe down real quick. There we go. All right, that burr's worked back over as well. I'm gonna wipe this off. You can see we're getting pretty defined edge now. All right, so this is the fine one, and this I'm not going to add nearly as much pressure as I did on the coarse and the medium stone grit, just because it's not going to take that much pressure. This is a fine grit stone. This is more for just the finish work. Now I've got pretty clean edges on both sides, minus the tip where I had bent it earlier during testing. Now that's pretty sharp. I'm not going to be able to shave with it, but I should be able to, you know, easily split a piece of wood with it. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and sharpen this knife. Now this one I'm gonna have to start back over because it has no edge at all. All right, so get this nice and wet, and you can see there's no edge. I mean, I can do this all day and it'll give me like a friction burn. Alright, so this knife, and I'm not even done yet, you can actually see the hair. I'm actually shaving with this knife, and just not too long ago it wasn't sharp at all. So the last and final step is stropping, and all I'm using is my belt right here. I'm gonna take this off, and all I'm gonna do is run it just like this. Cool. Now we'll do the cut tests. All right, now we'll see how well it chops. Boom. There we go. See if we can find something. See how it holds up with this. There we go. Cool. Oh, this one's through a knot, so there we go. Survived through a knot and still shaves. Remember, both these knives were just made with like common house tools. The only thing that's not common maybe are these whetstones. Really, I mean that's about the only thing that's not common. You can even sharpen these with a belt sander or a angle grinder if you wanted to. These knives prove that you can make a knife pretty easily with just hand tools. Alright, this is William from Permapastor's Farm, and thank you guys for watching.